we already mentioned Alex Caravan being a stock riser. We went through testing and also on the court stuff in day 1. Day 2 and day 3 were scrimmages. What I really appreciated about the scrimmages is we saw players that performed well on the first day. And in years past, you've had agents pull them saying, you've done enough, you don't need to play. We're not seeing that this year at all. I think with the draft being completely wide open, which made it, interesting for 2 days. It was very competitive in both days. But who were some of your stock risers from the scrimmages?
Yeah, so I'll run you through kind of a long list that I had. We don't have to talk about all these guys. But stock risers from scrimmages: Baylor Shireman, Justin Edwards, pleasantly surprising. KJ Simpson had a really good first day. Adem Bona, I think, looked good and helped himself this week. JT Toppin, very interesting. I'm not sure what his situation is or whether he's coming back to college or staying in the NBA draft, but I think he had a really strong week. Enrique Freeman, and then Jamal Shed. The way that he scored, his defense was really impactful. A couple other stock risers that I'll mention, and please stop me if I'm talking too much here. Stock risers elsewhere: Reed Shepard, tied for first in max vertical jump. Zach Edey, taller than expected, which, again, insane. Devin Carter was the last one that I had written down here. Yes. Broke the NBA draft combine all-time record with a 3-quarter sprint of 2.87 seconds. Matched Reed Shepard with a 42-inch max standing vertical jump. 35-inch standing vertical jump, tied for the combine lead. He was impressive, and I think if you're ranking NBA combine participants with who had the most swagger on the court that I saw in Chicago this week, it was absolutely Devin Carter. Like, he broke the NBA combine record this week. Just like his demeanor when he carries himself on the floor, it's like, he's on the floor. He's a defensive playmaker. He gets in your face, and he is unabashedly himself. So I think he helped himself a lot this week as well.
It's so interesting to me that those little things, right? The way you carry yourself throughout drills, throughout the testing, NBA scouts are paying attention to that. And if you're locked in and you are making a statement, that can 100% carry over to the court. And what he did at Providence this year was good. It'll be interesting to see where his draft stock goes, because there could be one team that loves him, late lottery, or he could go as late, I think, to 20, 25. I don't think he's going to fall outside the first round. I think he's definitely a lock for a first round pick, but he's definitely someone I think burst onto the scene, and this is like the perfect draft for him. The other player, there's 2 other players I want to talk about during the scrimmage. Justin Edwards, you touched on him, and I told him last night, I saw him in the lobby, and I said, I really appreciate you playing. There in years past, we saw it, with Peyton Watson, Dalen Terry, when they came through, and they're just like, I'm not going to play. I don't need to play. I don't need to prove anything. And Justin Edwards came here and he said, I'm going to play. I'm going to compete. I didn't have a great year at Kentucky, so I'm going to show that I belong here, and either as like a fringe first rounder. Where do you think his draft stock is now?
Yeah, probably that, a fringe first rounder. I think he, in general, probably helped himself this week, just maybe a little bit, just competing and just showing that, he's not going to duck the smoke. He came into the year like he was number 1 on the CBS Sports Big Board, which is like, I'm ashamed to say, because now the season did not go well for him. Like, I think we can be fair and honest about that. Coming into the season, there was really high expectations that he could develop into being Kentucky's alpha. That was not the case. I was hoping to see him do some stuff this week. I thought that he did enough that, if he ends up staying in the draft, and I assume that he probably will, late first round would make some sense. I probably will end up ranking him like somewhere in the 30s. So probably closer to like early second round. But just him competing this week, him just showing out and being willing to play in the scrimmages. Like, as you said in years past, like every single year, there's guys who either drop out after the first day or don't play entirely. He fits the profile of someone who would absolutely do that in years past. So much appreciated to him and all the other prospects this year, like just showing out and being able to compete. I thought that was great.
The other 2 players that I want to touch on real quick were 2 Americans elected to go play over in Australia in the NBL. Trenton Flowers, AJ Johnson, who, by the way, had a poster dunk. It was like the play of the combine. That was incredible. And for being 2 young players that, really had a lot of pressure to come in here and show out, how much do you think this week helped them?
A lot. I think there were 2 guys who, like, just independently, not even taking notes on like, oh, these two guys maybe have a lot to prove. When you're watching them in the scrimmages, you're like, wow, these guys like look like they belong. And that says a lot. Like there were a lot of guys, KP, that we watched this week who we cannot say that about, who
Correct.
did not belong on the floor. And Trent Flowers, like the athleticism, that's going to be there, but he showed some stuff like being able to attack off the dribble and closeouts, and his activity on defense I thought was really encouraging. AJ Johnson, as you mentioned, like the highlight dunk of the week, played with a lot of confidence on offense. And I think both of those guys like really helped themselves this week and looked really impressive on both ends of the floor.
One note about AJ Johnson that I want to make sure all of our listeners and anybody who follows the NBA or NBA draft, AJ Johnson and Jalen Green are not related. Yes, they're both from Fresno. Yes, they look similar. Yes, they've had the same trainer since AJ was in 8th grade. He's been in the gym working out with Jalen ever since he was 14, 15. There's similarities to their game. They are not related. I just needed to put that out there.